Hey everyone, it is Katie from Moonflower Moments. I'm joining y'all today for a March intentions video. So these are the decks and the practices that I want to get up to in March. March is one of my absolute favorite times of the year. I always feel like it's the time where I really get to come alive again. And so I'm definitely a spring summer girl. This is my era. And in Louisiana, we have forecasted to have some beautiful weather. So my themes are definitely going to pull on the fact that Earth is waking up and I want to meet it there. I'm also going on a very special trip this month, so I'm going to include decks for that as well. And then I also, as a Cancer, I love Pisces season, so we're going to have a little influence there too. So today's video is a little bit of a conglomerate. I have a lot of different decks and a lot of different practices, but it is definitely meeting me where I am because I expect that this month is going to be incredibly busy. So to give you an update on my envelope practice, I have these envelopes. They're just like cheap little envelopes, and I pull all of my cards for the entire month at the beginning of the month. That being said, my daily cards, I definitely do more than just daily draws. And so this was like 29th. I mean, I have like the whole month played out. So for last month, I used 3 different decks. I used Tarot Arthurian. I'm just going to show you a few cards rather quickly. This was my tarot deck. It was nice to actually finally put it to use. I do find the artwork to be really beautiful. I also used my Faceted Garden, which came out looking so lovely next to Tarot Arthurian. These decks were definitely made to be paired together. And then I also used my Lucille Clifton's Divining Poets. So a few cards from there. If you want to see more of these cards, I show them a lot in my other intention videos, so I'll leave a couple of them linked down below because this is a deck I pretty standardly use for that practice. So I think because March is coming into springtime, I really want to play with language that's a little bit more concrete because I'm going to be really busy. So I enjoyed the Faceted Garden. This is one of my favorite oracle decks of all time, but because the words are meant to be more metaphoric than direct keywords, I did find that in the morning when I was pulling for my daily draw, I had to keep layering on the daily draw with like other decks to try to figure out, for example, what the word ram could possibly mean. And that's usually not an issue, but in the morning I have really been my style has changed a lot, and so I'm matching together like a lot of different clothing, and so that's taking up time for my tarot practice. So I think I just need it to be a little bit more direct this month. So for the month of March, what I'm going to do is pick out one of the clearest readers that I know. This is Naturescapes, and this is going to be my envelope deck for March. I feel like this is an appropriate deck to use because once again, it is Pisces season. This deck features a fair bit of water. All of the cup suits have water in them. And then it also is so nature-based, and so it's definitely meeting me in a place where everything is still waking up, but we don't have like this chaotic kind of jungly imagery like one of my decks, Slavic Legends, has. This is much more like cool and kind of pared back because it's nature photography, that I feel like it matches the energy of the world just coming to wake up. So this is going to be the tarot deck that I use inside of my envelopes this month. I am also going to pair that with only one oracle deck. So I have been using the Lucille Clifton's poetry deck for 3 months now. And like I said, I think it's just a little bit too abstract for my needs right now. So I'm going to go for something a little bit more concrete. I think I am going to pull out my Southern Gothic. So that being said, it matches okay with Naturescapes. I guess I'll go ahead and show that match here. But I'm really pulling this deck because when I first got Southern Gothic, it was in February or March of 2022, which is when I first started reading tarot. And so this was one of my very first decks, and I get very nostalgic for it at this time of year. It reminds me of like when the days still have like a little bit of a chill to the air, but yet the weather is getting a little bit warmer. And so I want a deck that meets me there. I am a little curious about it having like multiple keywords. That is one of the problems that I have with this deck because I prefer a deck that has one keyword. But with that being said, I feel like because I have a personal relationship to so much imagery in this deck, that it shouldn't be too much of a problem, because if I find 2 words to be overwhelming, I can just kind of riff off of what I know about hurricane lamps and what they smell like and how they remind me, for example, of my father. And so I think I'm going to read this with the keywords as well as a bit intuitively. But these decks just scream March to me. The world is waking up, but we're not like full-blown kind of jungle yet. All right, so I know for a fact that the decks I'm about to show I'm going to use quite a lot at the beginning of March. So one of my closest friends is getting married and we're going on a bachelorette trip to Austin, Texas. I've never been to Austin before, even though I've grown up in Louisiana. I think I've only really visited Texas a couple different times in my life. So this is my first time to like do Texas. So the theme is Disco Cowgirl. So it is meant to be pink cowgirl. So what better deck to bring than Desert Illuminations? So we all have like little pink cowgirl hats and, well, not necessarily pink cowgirl hats, but we all have cowgirl hats, and we all also have like a lot of pink, and there's going to be a lot of fringe, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm hanging around with people that I consider to be my Page of Wands crew. So what a beautiful deck to describe and to fit that Page of Wands energy. And so I am going to be using the heck out of this in the next week. I just feel like it's such a fun deck to bring to a bachelorette kind of lighthearted, joyful atmosphere. But this is also a deck that can give like really serious readings. I mean, hello, look at this Empress. She looks like she's pretty severe. And so I think I'm going to have the grandest time working with this deck and kind of playing into that satirical kind of cowgirl ideas, like, and just having fun with it, like not taking it too seriously. So this is going to be the first deck that I'm most excited to bring with me to Texas. But of course, you know, I am a tarot reader and I'm going with other tarot readers, so I have to have more than one deck, right? So another deck that I'm going to bring is a deck that came from Texas, and I feel like it's appropriate to bring it back. And that is going to be my Tarot of the Dead. So it's a cute little pocket-sized deck, and so I don't have a lot of room in my bag. My bag is like notoriously pretty small, and so I'm just going to put this bad boy in there, and this is going to be my little travel deck. But this deck is, I mean, the creator's from Texas. She lives in Texas. I don't know if she's from Texas, but she lives in Texas. And I was just kind of thrilled when I ordered this deck and it arrived at my doorstep like 3 days later, because she's close enough to me to where like, it could ship that quickly. And so it's like, of course, if I'm going to Texas, I'm going to bring this deck. I feel like that's just where it needs to be. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I hope that I get to be like a little fool, get to experience kind of the fun, just kind of playful nature that this deck is. Here we go. Do some quick and dirty readings on the fly. All right, and then the last deck that I know for sure I'm gonna bring with me is, of course, my Radiant Wilds. So if I'm hanging out with some of my favorite people in the world, some of my favorites, gorgeous women that I always look up to, I of course have to bring this deck. It is just flowing with so much energy and so much vibrancy that I can really see this being a very powerful reader. And so Tarot of the Dead is more for like quick and dirty readings. I think Desert Illuminations is more for like quick readings as well, but more of a general reader. This is a deck that really taps into your soul. And so I've done some very deep and profound readings with this deck. We are going to have a yoga Sunday, which another tarot reader is leading, so I definitely don't want to like step on her territory, though. If she saw this, she'd be like, Katie, whatever, like do whatever you want. But I definitely think that this is a deck that will be really well situated in those in that kind of area in those kind of days. So I'm looking forward to it. And if I have someone who wants a very serious reading, a very uplifting reading, a very I am woman, hear me roar kind of reading, I think that this is the deck that definitely needs to be used. Look how beautiful. Yeah, we're going to get up to some yoga too, so it just feels like it's the right deck to bring for that kind of movement and vibrancy. All right, so since so many of the women that I'm going with on the trip are Pisces, we had all of the fiery energy of the decks that I showed before to represent Texas, but I'm also going to be playing around with my watery decks. So this is Dream Enchantress. I know that this one is also going to come with me because this is a very serious watery kind of deck. It's kind of like a poetry deck. I am going on a trip with some people that are poets, and so if I happen to want to sneak off and I feel like motivated to write a poem, I'm sure many of them would actually be in the same mood. And so this is a deck that I like to use to support me through that. But I think I just want to meet the Pisces where the Pisces are and have a great time with it. This is definitely a Pisces deck for me. It's very surreal. It's very mystical. It's very, I'm going with the flow and I'm kind of going my own way. And I think that that is such a beautiful depiction of what Pisces is. I'm going to see this underlayer and then I'm just going to keep floating like the mutable, gorgeous sign that I am. So this is one that's coming with me. My other Pisces deck is pretty serious. So I don't know if I'm going to take this one on the trip with me because this is a deck I use to do serious work, but like, why not? I mean, who knows what the mood will call for. But this is definitely a deck that I'm going to use for the month of March. So this is Mystical Dream. You know that I've been talking about it quite a lot. I think it's just part of the fact that I got this deck in like February and March in 2022. And like I said before about Southern Gothic, I get these inklings, right? Like if I bought a deck in like July, I think that I have to use it in July, even if it's not a July deck. And so sometimes there's a little bit of like disconnect in my practice from that. And so I try to be mindful to bring in decks that are matching the seasons that I'm currently in, so that I'm not using like a winter deck in like the middle of summer. Because like, I don't know, I feel like it's part of the bonding process for me is that if I get a deck in March, I want to use it in March, every single March. There's something cyclical about it, something that's routine, something that brings me comfort in that. So I think part of it is that I got this deck in like February, March, the first year that I was reading. And then we have all of these beautiful, gorgeous blues. And so this is a Pisces deck that kicks my ass, while the other Pisces deck is kind of like, I want to show you this fantasy land. This is like, I'm going to show you this fantasy land, but I'm also going to punch you in the gut, or in the case of this, the nipple, right? This is such an intense card. I spoke about it in one of my other things. Clearly the crab is not pinching her breast, it's pinching the wolf, but like I can't unsee it. So I feel like there's so much movement and there's so much power to this deck. It is definitely my Pisces deck for certain. So we're gonna use that for Pisces season. Let me see, I have another one over here. I think I ran through this list kind of quickly. That's all right. That is all right. I'm not mad about that at all. Okay. The other Pisces deck that I am going to maybe use, we're going to see how I'm feeling because this is another ass kicker, is a brand new deck in my collection. This is Into the Lonely Woods. And I bought this deck on a whim. I saw it on someone's Instagram channel and they have very similar deck tastes to me. I know I've influenced their buying and they definitely have influenced mine. And I was like, oh, I think I need to have it. So this was like a 3 o'clock in the morning purchase where I was like, oh, I really like this soft imagery. I haven't done very much playing around with it. I'll go ahead and admit that. I've only pulled like one card, but I was having a really great day when I pulled it. And so the message like, but like, it's probably because this is not a deck you go to when you're like, happy-go-lucky. This is a deck you go to when you need that support and you need to be reminded that the truth comes softly. You know, this is not one that you do quick readings with. Like you're supposed to sit and meditate on these messages because death moves among us is such a serious topic. But I feel like this will help me in combination with Mystical Dream and also Dream Enchantress to really dive into some of these underlying currents that are running through me. I've spoken on my channel in the last year about how I've had so much substantial change, and YouTube is part of that. So thank y'all for being here and just like being so kind and being so supportive because it means a lot to me to have this space. But I think that while I've been going through those currents and I've been working through all of these various things, it's very important that I take time and, like the fish, be willing to go underneath those currents too and see what's there. And so this is one that I don't think I'm going to be working with it every day per se, but I would like to pull at least one per week and really sit down and be incredibly intentional about how I use this deck to see what is ebbing and flowing. And how can I return to my lost self? Maybe I just need to rest a little while. So it's a beautiful deck for this season, I feel. Like I said, Pisces season brings me so much joy. I mean, we're almost to spring. I love that for us, but I mean, I don't know, as a water sign, I get Pisces. It makes sense to me. Okay, and then the last deck I want to show you that I intend to use for general readings, what I've been finding is that with my daily readings, I do want to have at least one more deck that is really general that I can layer on top of my daily readings as a clarifier. And so I am going to pull my best deck for clarifying. I want to work with the Goddess Tarot. I do have the larger book for this deck, and so I feel like it's appropriate to designate this as my other daily reader, so not the one that goes into the envelopes, but the one that I pull when I just want a quick check-in. And if I happen to want to steep into the mythology of these goddesses, I have that larger book to do so if I have a quiet moment, or I can just get a quick and dirty reading. This was one of my very first tarot decks of all time. I definitely purchased this one in March of 2022, and so I think it's time for her to come back to me. If there's any deck in my collection that screams March, it's this one. And I like it. Like, it's a clear, nice reader, and that's what March feels like to me. It's that taking in of the breath and moving forward and preparing for what comes. And isn't that so interesting? It's a juxtaposition. This is a nice, clear, concise reader for me, so it gives me that breath of fresh air. But at the same time, I'm also talking about the Pisces and how I want to dive underneath the current. And isn't that what March is? It's the opportunity for us to get that one last dive before all of our energy is so outwardly spent. Anyway, so I wasn't even talking about the deck. That was just my separate musings. But I love this deck. It's so beautiful. I want to use it more. I might even fucking bring it with me on my trip, honestly, because every time I go on a trip, I think about this deck. When I first started reading tarot, it was really important to me for some reason, I don't know why, to make my travel deck like safe for other people to see, so like no nudity. And so this deck used to go with me everywhere. It's gone a lot of like cross countries with me. So this one might come to Texas too. We'll see. I mean, it kind of fits. Like, all of the women I'm going with are basically goddesses to me, so I don't care. I'm not going to edit that out. I love my friends. So with that being said, I think I'm pretty much done. I don't think I have anything else that I want to share. I did get a couple of new decks in, and I have some ideas of some practices that I'm going to use with those, but that video is going to post in about a week or so, so I don't want to like recap. I think I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. So wow, that was really quick. I think it's been like months since I've like posted a video under 20 minutes, but I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to shut up. I hope that all of you have a beautiful, awesome day, and I really appreciate y'all being here. So I hope to see you again next time.